setting the traps. And we're still in the overview section, so I'm just doing that reminder.
That's right.
You don't need to apply this, and if your mind kind of starts going toward the how do I apply this, kind of rein it back in and be like, okay, we're gonna get to that in the next section in the stage 2.
And just pique your curiosity. If you have a question, you can just note it down to remember.
Yeah, and anything stands out, you can make a note of it in the comments or in your own notes. So yeah.
Cool.
All right, setting the traps. Another issue is that if there are many desired actions, there would need to be a lot of pain point triggers. The more threatening an environment, the more the brain prioritizes conserving resources. Repeatedly setting and refreshing pain triggers to motivate oneself to act will lead to a slippery slope of diminishing returns. The more pain triggers and traps are set up, the fewer and smaller the routes available to avoid pain in order to achieve the desired outcomes, and the smaller the energy budget available to avoid the pain.
The motivator becomes the demotivator. Repeatedly hitting pain points to get a desired outcome risks the desired outcome getting associated with the pain. It's classic conditioning at its worst. When that happens, the survival instincts will swoop in to the rescue, often at the expense of whatever goals you're pursuing. Do you want to explain what that means?
Yeah, but in the in-depth way or the light?
Yeah, in the light way. Just yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you're using pain as a way to motivate yourself, and you might not think of it as pain, you might think of it as just like, well, I just have to do this. I don't want to do this. Yeah, willpower and just brute force, like, just have to get up in the morning, I just have to do this thing. So if that's the way you're approaching it, it's pain. It's a feeling that you prefer not to feel, and so it's uncomfortable. And so if that's your motivation for doing anything, then there's a chance that the motivator will become the demotivator.
Oh, especially if it's like, if I don't do this, then this bad thing.
Yeah, there we go.
If I don't get this paper done in time, I'm not going to get a good grade, and if I don't get a good grade, then blah blah blah. If you just keep hitting yourself over the head with those to get yourself moving.
Yeah, then the thing that you're using to motivate yourself, to get yourself going, is actually has the power to like demotivate you, to sabotage. If there's any way you can get away from it, you will.
And one of the ones that most people are familiar with is if you're using a diet, like you can't eat that because blah blah blah, and then you're like.
Yeah, and you think about the negative reasons. I can't because then
I can't.
All of these reasons that are negative to motivate you to stay on the diet, it's likely the diet will be very short. Yeah, so it's associated with the pain. So short-term game, is that right? Yes.
Yep.
Short-term game, you say it.
Short-term gain.
Long-term loss. As an example, let's say a salesperson decides or uses pain points to motivate a buyer to solve their problem by spending money on a service. Let's assume the pain point pitch succeeds in convincing the buyer to feel the pain, but it's always a choice, right? The buyer is feeling the pain. While the buyer is feeling the pain, the buyer is in a negative state. The buyer's instincts are keeping track of all of this in the background. And if the buyer doesn't have a strong lens of personal power over their own state, all of the blame gets pointed at the poor salesperson. If the buyer felt cornered or pressured, or even worse, if the buyer later feels remorse over the money spent, it's a continuing pain saga that's all the salesperson's fault. It only takes a few interactions like this before all it will take to trigger the buyer's defensive shields is the thought of an interaction with salespeople. The buyer will increasingly avoid salespeople purely out of instinct to avoid the pain, which is the same tool the original salesperson was using to increase sales. Yep. Setting.
That's right there.
Yep.
Setting.
Not quitting. Yeah, that's where you are.
That's it. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So,
do you want to talk about it?
Maybe just really quick, like for ourselves. If we're doing that to ourselves, then we become the salesperson that we try to avoid. So we try to avoid our own goals. Right?
Yeah, because I've had experiences like this where I've set up a goal for myself, like, oh, it'd be really cool to do this, I want to try to do this, and I get super motivated and I do it for a period of time, and then when I start using pain to motivate myself, then I start sabotaging myself and just stop. And the funny thing is I don't really realize that's what's going on. It kind of feels like I just decided to pivot, like I decided to go this way, and then I'm like, let's pivot. But why did I decide? And so when I look back, I see, yeah, I used pain as a motivator, and then it became my demotivator, and I quit.
And I think the thing that was kind of surprising for me was, it feels like that is the way, like so many of the ways that traditionally you try to get something done, or to encourage someone else to do something, especially like kids.
Yeah.
Do this or else this bad thing will happen. If you don't do this, then, I think using pain points is everywhere.
It's everywhere. And sometimes it's the only tools that people use in their toolbox.
Yeah.
They're like, how do you use another tool? If I just was happy, I would just avoid all of the things I don't want to do.
So if you can relate to this, if you're using pain points right now, and it feels like there's getting you certain results, but not everything you're hoping to achieve, and if you're looking for something better than pain points, you're in the right place.
You're in the right place, guys.
Yep. It's coming.
Okay, take care.